Hi folks, I'm Peter Steinberg and I'm the director of the World Harbor Program. We have three speakers on today's webinar, but I just thought that I'd say a few words by way of introduction. So having worked in Australia now for 30 years and have spent time in Asia, working in Asia for about the past 10 in Singapore, China, and elsewhere. So one of the things that really has struck me about that time is how environmental consciousness or environmental awareness, if you will, has dramatically increased in Asia over the past 10 or so years. So one of the strengths, I think, of the World Harbor Project is that we get different societal and cultural perspectives on the kinds of issues that we're interested in. So I'm very pleased today to have a webinar that's focused on the Asian perspective on the sustainability of harbors and urban waterways. So we have three speakers to represent that. The first speaker today is Professor Yun Wei Dong from Xiamen University in China, who will speak to the World Harbor Project in Xiamen. Our second speaker is Professor Kenny Leung from the Swire Institute of Marine Science at the University of Hong Kong. And I think Hong Kong is rightfully well known for the environmental work that they do in the marine environment, and Kenny will speak to some aspects of that today. And then finally, we have Jean Chai from Penang, Malaysia, from the University of Science in Malaysia, and he's going to talk about coastal adaptation and ecological engineering in Malaysia. So we'll hear from, as you hear, a diversity of cities, but all with an Asian focus. So I look forward to hearing what the three of you have to say, and with that, I'll turn it over to Yun Wei to tell us about Xiamen.
So how to share? Please give me. Yeah, so I can share. So anybody can see the screen, okay?
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah. So I have now too much stuff to say today because we just joined the team. So I have to. So I think I just very briefly, to introduce the Xiamen, the city, the harbor. We have the problem what we facing, and yeah, some slightly we think about to do this, but deal with this problem. So you can see is the Xiamen. This is the picture of Xiamen. So welcome to Xiamen in September. Yeah, so it's a very nice harbor. It's a very nice harbor. It's one of the most beautiful cities in China. So before I introduce the Xiamen Harbour, I wanted to say something about my university because I think maybe not too many people know this university. So my university, the Xiamen University, is a kind of the, I think it should be the oldest university working in the marine science. So in 1920s, it published one paper, the first paper in the Lancet. Published this paper in Science. In 1932, we have the first marine institute in China. It's the Amoy Marine Biological Station. In 1946, we have the first oceanography department in PIC, the People's Republic of China. So we have a college, and also have a state key laboratory of marine environmental science. And this year we have really two big news, kind of. We have the research vessel, Tankeking, launched, and the full load displacement of this research vessel is 3,600 tons. So it's a pretty good research vessel. And also in June 1st, we will have a new marine station. It's Dongshan Swire Marine Station. It's also similar to very similar to the swims. It's also supported by Swire Group, partly supported by Swire Group. So today I wanted to very briefly show the Xiamen Harbour. yeah, Xiamen here is in the very near from Taiwan. The 1 hour flight from to Taipei and 1 hour flight to Hong Kong. So let's here. So Xiamen has it's a very small island. Actually, it's very small island. It's a let's say it's the island, very small island. It's 2 districts. It's the Huli and Simi as 2 districts here. And yeah, the land area is about 1,699 square kilometer. The coastline is about 234, and the population is around 4 million, 3.8 million, and is also estuary. Is a estuary city. Is the Jiulong River. Here is the river. It's the estuary. So we have some like really famous species like Chinese white dolphin, lancelet, and eaglet, and the horseshoe crab. So the harbor of Xiamen is one of the major deep water ports in southeastern China. It's one of the trunk line ports in the Asia Pacific region, and the eighth largest container port in China and the 17th in the world. So there are some like there are 12 area for the harbor. So as similar to many Chinese city, and the Xiamen coastline is there are a lot of reclamation. So it changed a lot since 1950 to 2010. It still changed a lot. So the red area is the reclaimed area. So we have this. You can see the coastline. The change of the coastline is also like reclaimed area. So it changed the water. It also changed the water. Like the western keep decreasing. It's the sea keep decreasing. And also this year we will have a new airport here. We will have a new airport in the small island. And yeah, it's another story. But the government want the airport. So it's yeah. So generally, so we have the topographic shift that changed a lot. So the Yun Dong, that is a lake, actually a lagoon, not a lake. It's here it's keep decreasing. 8 square kilometers is decreased. And the Xiamen Island, the island, the land is too expensive. It's too expensive, so it keeps increasing. Yeah, so. And let's say the Tong'an Bay, the bay is also keep decreasing, and all this has disappeared. It's become land. So here is Xiamen. It belongs to Taiwan. So it's very near. Actually, Xiamen is slightly bigger. Previously, it's slightly bigger, larger than Xiamen, but now Xiamen, yeah, slightly larger than Xiamen. So it's yeah, we have a lot of land reclamation. So almost all the coastlines are artificial. Almost. I think I can't find any natural location almost. Yeah. So we have also because the huge population, 4 million population is also a big problem for the sewage and the industrial effluent. The industrial is not a big problem, it's very stable, but with the increase of the population, we have a really big problem for the domestic sewage, it's a big problem. And also the cargo throughout port is also keep increasing crazy. And with the land reclamation, we have lost a lot of the coastal ecosystem service between 1980 to 2005 due to land reclamation. We lost totally about 780 million RMB. So it's about 100 million, more than 100 million, US dollar. We lost quite a lot ecosystem service here. And we also have a big problem for the pollution. We have a big problem for pollution. The heavy metal in the sediments of Xiamen, the west part of the island, we have a big problem. Yeah, and also the pH and the PHC also a big problem in this area. Yeah, so we can't get the new data so we can only use the published data. But I don't know what's really happening now. So maybe possibly we needed to do some this kind of survey. And we also have a big, recently we have a more and more red tides. The harmful algae bloom in this area is keep increasing because the high nutrients from the river and also the domestic sewage. Yeah, so with the population, we have a really big problem for red tide. It's very common. Every year we have a few times. Last year we also have a few times. And also some algae, some harmful algae never appeared before. Recently we found it's have migrated from the East China Sea to Xiamen. But we don't know exactly which species, but it looks new. It's a new one. Yeah, so the water quality have a big problem. So it's in almost all area, the water quality is from the highest, and it means the worst, the worst. So it's looks all the area not that good, Yeah. So we have some like some rocky shore here. It's some shore in the tidal zone. It's the rocky shore. It's sand beach. It's artificial one. The beach is artificial, and slightly mangrove. Not many, but there are some mangrove and muddy shore. The muddy shore people usually do some aquaculture, but not in the island. It's out of the island. They do some aquaculture stuff. We also have in September, if you are here, if you come here, you can see a lot of artificial structure. There are totally 4 bridges in that area, and also in the rocky shore we have a lot of like the walkway and a lot of ferry and lots of ferry here. So it's a very busy city, but a lot of artificial structure. But not now people think about like make it green, like ecologically friendly. So the Xiamen government now recently they aware of this problem. They start to think about how to do this, make it like a green engineering stuff. Yeah, recently I also talk with the local government. They are quite positive to this idea. So maybe it's a big chance. Because in China we have totally 18,000 kilometers coastline. So now almost 60% are changed. It's become the concrete and the seawall and something the artificial infrastructure. So we have a really big problem. Maybe Xiamen, we can do something in Xiamen as a demo to show them. The local government really support this idea. Actually, I talked with them last month. They are pretty supportive. So we have a lot because due to the land reclamation, we have a really big problem for the white dolphin and egrets for them. And also the landscape. I mentioned here we will have a new airport. So we will possibly lost this fish, very famous fish, and also we have a big problem for the white dolphin because the ships and something maybe the noisy, so make them not very happy. So ecological risk assessment for the white dolphin, you say it's keep increasing, and also for the fish, for its small tiny fish, is also keep increasing. The biomass is keep decreasing. And also, yeah, but the good thing we have some like a marine reserve, but not perfect. We need to think about how to improve this problem, improve the marine reserve. So we have Xiamen have tried to do something like the Yuandang Logan improvement project. We try to, because the reclamation and the rapid abandonation process and the land-based sewage discharge, we have a really big problem. So this area, the lagoon is the water pollution is a really big problem. So there are some problems for the very poor hydrodynamic condition and the sedimentation of pollutants, and very small. It's very small in summer, and a lot of harmful algae, and the egret move out. They don't stay there. But they do use a lot of way recently, try to improve the water quality and the landscape. So recently it changed a lot. This is previously, before the project, it looked really bad. This is a dead fish. This is a dead fish. Now it looks like pretty okay, but the shoreline is not that beautiful. So possibly the government want to do some like improvement now. Yeah, other thing is I want to introduce is there is an institute, the Coastal and Ocean Management Institute of Xiamen University, that few very famous professor, like Professor Hong Huasheng and Professor Xue Xiongzhi. They are very famous to do the ocean management. It's pretty okay. And they have some like a theory to how to talk with the government, how to do the ocean management. They have some idea to do this. So thank you. So we have lots of problem. So welcome to Xiamen. We can work together to solve this problem. Yeah, that's my talk. Thank you, everybody. So next should be Kenny. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Yun Wei.
Great. Sorry, Kenny, just before you start. So for those of you who are on the line, we haven't sent out the invitations to the Global Partners meeting yet because we haven't fixed the dates, but it will be the end of September in Xiamen. And you just heard about Xiamen, so we look forward to seeing everybody there at the end of September. And you'll get a formal notice in a week or so. Kenny, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Can you see my screen and hear my voice? Okay, can you see my screen and hear my voice?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good.
Great. Good. So my talk mainly focus on ongoing research in Hong Kong because I gave a talk to talk about the background of Hong Kong Harbour in Sydney in 2014. So I try to not overlapping the materials. As you can see, this is a Dragon Boat Festival. It's coming up in the region, in Asia region. Then in our harbour, our water quality has been improved greatly over the past 10 years because the government pumping lots of money treating the wastewater to high quality before discharging to the harbour. So as you can see, in the Victoria Harbour now, we can see many fishes return. Before I'm going to talk about the projects, I want to give you some idea about our marine lab, the Swire Institute of Marine Science. It is really beautiful place in Hong Kong. Although Hong Kong is highly populated with 7.4 million people living in, but we still retain 40% of the landmass as a countryside. This is a part of the beautiful countryside in Hong Kong. Although we do have reclamation, but the reclamation restrict to 16% only, 1/6 of the overall coastal line. So our environmental protection and conservation is quite good here. The good news is that our marine lab going to went away and expand. We received 100 million Hong Kong dollar from donor and also from the university and the government. Then this is the current look of our lab. Then in next year, now the construction is undergoing. Then we're going to build another building. Just look like this. Maybe I use a pointer. So this will be the new building with aquarium, museum, and also seminar room. Then we also going to recruit a new director. If you have any good and new good candidates, please let us know and also invite them to apply. Cannot go there. Okay, this is the other view from the back here. So this will be the seminar room. Underneath will be the museum. So currently we have 10 faculty members in our laboratory. Our research focus fall into 3 different categories, including marine ecology, conservation of marine biodiversity and fishery resources. And the main focus for most people is related to how marine organisms respond to environmental change, including climate change, ocean acidification, temperature-wise, and also habitat change, alternation, as well as pollution. So in this talk, I'm going to highlight some major projects we are doing now. The first one is about the biodiversity and ecological survey at the Tolo Harbour and Channel. Second one is about the recovery of ecosystem after the implementation of trawl ban in Hong Kong. The third project is related to marine geo project. This is a new project in our institute. Finally, I will touch on the Eco Shoreline project. This is also form part of the World Harbour project. As you may know, Hong Kong, the star here, located within the biodiversity hotspot. Over the past 5 years, we have done a review on our marine biodiversity in Hong Kong. We have a record of 5,943 species up to now. Then based on mathematical model, it is estimated to be 6,500 species just in this tiny water. Then now we have really good database with a GIS system. We can map any wet-coated species in our database and also related to their water quality and also the topography, hydrology information. And then we also upload this information into the WORM, the World Register Marine Organism Database. We have a chapter mainly for Hong Kong. Hong Kong facing the same challenge in any harbors in the world, including the habitat loss, fermentation, pollution, overfishing, climate change, and invasive species. Then our project also focus on all this area. Since Hong Kong is very small, then we gather together a group of 25 scientists related to marine science. We work together to form this team called BECOME. It is a joint university consortium for biodiversity, ecology, conservation of marine ecosystems. So far, we organized one international conference with almost 200 people attending from 16 different countries. We're going to organize the next one in 2020. Then let me talk about the first project. This project, we received over $8.6 million from the government to focusing on this tiny water. We call it Tolo Harbour. Why this area is so important? because based on archaeology, the first settler, they live nearby this region with those archaeological record almost 7,000 years ago. And this area has been very important site for oyster harvesting almost 1,000 years by the since the Han Dynasty. The king sent the soldiers come to here to collect the pearls and pearl oyster, and then collect the pearls, and then they ship it back through the Pearl River from here. So we have a very rich history. At the same time, we have a very high biodiversity in this region because, as you can see from this map, although you can see some concrete features here in the inner Tolo Harbour, but you still can see most of the shore still remain lateral, with mangrove and sandy shore, rocky shore, and so forth. In this project, 25 of us work together, trying to build a team with multidisciplinary expertise and try to build this capacity. For example, we need different taxonomists to help us to identify different group of species. And we're going to centralize the species catalog and also build a library from our samples. Oh, sorry. We also try to look into the spatial and also temporal variation in marine biodiversity, identify species and biological communities in different habitat. The major task is to identify the biodiversity hotspots and the sites of special value for further conservation and protection. In this project, we collaborate with social scientists and economists to study and assess the value of fishery, the value of ecotourism, and also the value for people to enjoy the scenery and the waterfront. And then finally, we highlight the importance to establish best practice in ecological surveys for environmental impact assessment. I'll give you an example later. So we have 4 different major areas for study using a balanced statistical design for different habitat, from rocky shore, sandy shore, mangrove site, and also the water column, and also the subtidal area. And as you can see, the project lasts for 3 years, but the sampling will be conducted in the first and second year. Then in the third year, we're going to do the data analysis and sorting out the species and so forth. And then we have wet dry season sampling. In each season, we have 3 times sampling for each location with replication of sites. Why I said before we want to set a good example for EIA. In Hong Kong, we have a lot of court case, the legal argument on the validity of EIA result. Because in the EIA reporting system, this didn't really tell how much samples should be taken to get the baseline information or to assess before, during, and after the construction project. So if a consultant only collects, say, a handful of samples, then it may not truly reflect the biodiversity in the site. So in this project, we try to build this cumulative curve for each kinds of habitat. For example, in rocky shore, we're going to construct this curve for maybe 10 times or 12 times over the year. Then we will get a standard curve. So in the future, maybe all the EIA reporting system may set the bar here, say the consultants should at least reach the 70% of all the biodiversity before they draw the conclusion of from their result. So this has a huge implication to improve the current ecological impact assessment in Hong Kong. Maybe this result can also be applied in whole South China Sea area. And this project will follow our review project on the overall biodiversity in Hong Kong. Since the survey effort is huge for the total harbour, we expect we will have a lot more data to fit into the current database with all the information, not just the species name, but the location and also the environmental parameter will input there too. There are many news from this project. For example, very recently, Stefano Canici, my colleague, he is an expert on mango crabs. He discovered a new species of crabs which can climb the mango tree. This is a first record in the world. We call it Habama. Tingkok means the mango site they survey. Then right now we have 10 possible new species undergo scrutinization, double checking, and then there will be more good news generated from this really big project. Then the next project, last time I briefly mentioned, our fishery resources was collapsed in 1970s due to the mechanization of the fishing vessels, especially the fishermen using these four different types of trawler. They can hand down the trawler to the seabed and also destroy the seabed habitat, that causing permanent damage to the seabed and also causing the overfishing. Because in Hong Kong there is no restriction on the size and also the species of animals you can collect. So then it creates a big problem in terms of overfishing. So the government tried to rehabilitate such depletion of fishery resources. So the government implemented a trawling ban on 31st December 2012. So in this study, we received over $7.3 million from our government. And then we try to test 3 different hypotheses. First, the epibenthic biodiversity and fishery resources would increase after the trawl ban, and then the mean trophic level would increase, and the infaunal diversity also increase. So we have done almost 4 years survey until now. We have a record of over 700 different species. This is just example for fish. Then we found some good result, some initial signs of recovery in the eastern and western waters of Hong Kong. For example, in the western water, now we find more octopus. This is a very good, without the bottom trawling, then the habitat of the octopus will remain the same, because they like to hide in tubes or in some crevices. Then if you maintain this integrity, then they can survive better and go bigger. Then we also find the reduction of the lower trophic level as fish species, for example, the rabbit fish and ponyfish in those areas, and replaced by the predator species. However, in terms of the magnitude of the recovery is still very small. So why? Because we still have other problems. For example, we still see illegal trawling happening, especially in southern water. And also, there have been increased fishing effort using non-trawling based methods. Then on top of it, we have a frequent hypoxia due to the eutrophication problem, especially in the eastern water. Then this will restrict the recovery fully. So right now we're still analyzing the data. Hopefully, maybe in 3 months' time, we will have our first paper to submit for publication. Then the third project is a new project just started last month. Sorry, last few months probably. Dr. David Baker, he in collaboration with a Smithsonian Marine Geo project. The project using this stack of PVC plate. They put this plate onto the coral reef area. Then over time, so they collect the plate monthly basis, and then they will scrap the surface for genetic analysis. Based on the genetic analysis, they will know what kind of species survive in the system and over different time of the year. And also they will look at the functional groups of microorganisms as well. Then this will help us to correlate the ecosystem surface and function to the water quality. Dave Baker focusing on eutrophication and nitrogen balance in the ecosystem. So this is an exciting project. He just received over 3 million Hong Kong dollar to work on this. And finally, I want to touch on this World Harbour project. I think all the audience must know about this project. We received this equally designed eco tower from Australia, and we have a hypothesis in our mind that if you build a concrete seawall, then the biodiversity and the function will deplete. Then if you do the mitigation, then it will bounce back, but it will never reaching the natural condition. The early you put into the mitigation, the better, of course. Then, as I said before, in Hong Kong, we have 16% of the coastal line are reclaimed as either vertical seawall or those are web slope seawall. In this project, we select 2 seawall in the western side of Hong Kong. Western side of the Hong Kong waters. I mean, I will show you the map in a minute. Then in this project, we have 6 different treatment. Then you can see the tower with different height. This without any ridges. This one, the ridge height is 2.5 cm. The next one is 5 cm. Then we put on some native oyster on top of this tower. Then this provide the biotic structure or to facilitate settlement and also feeding of the of other organisms. So we try to test 2 hypotheses. One related to the microhabitat offered by these ridges, and then second we focus on the biological facilitator, means the attached oysters here. So the hypothesis very simple. We expect the species ridgelets abundance percentage coverage of different species will increase with the tile capacity, means the height of ridges, and the presence of oyster. So then we collect the native oyster, and then we take them out and then transplant them onto the tiles. In this project, we bring some new idea to World Harbour project. We also use thermal imaging to study the heterogeneity of the tile surface temperature. As you can see from this image, you can see much warmer or hotter on top of the tile, which receive more sunlight. And then while you can see the blue color is cooler region, and also more animals will stay in this cooler region, especially during the hot day or during summer. Then in theory, we should see this relationship, the abundance or species richness will be higher at low temperature than high temperature. So then we also believe that the 5 cm crevices will provide cooler region, more cooler regions in terms of surface area for more species to occupy. Likewise, for the same tile, say 5 cm rigid tile, then we will predict more organisms will stay in the cooler region and than those in a hotter region, like on the top of the surface like this. So the two sites being selected, one nearby Moon and then the other one nearby the Chablakot Airport on Lantau Island. It was more than 9 months to get the permit to use this wall. There are a lot of bureaucratic process in Hong Kong. First, we need to identify the ownership of the wall, and then we have to go through many different departments to get the approval to use the seawall. And then during the construction, we also need to fill in lots of form to guarantee the safety of our operation. So it is not straightforward at all. Differences of two sites against other study sites all over the world is that our site in a relatively deeper water region, for example, this one water depth 2 meters, we cannot work without boat. Then you can see from this diagram, you see the tile here, the 30 tile here. Then in this study, we also try to put new ideas. Say we put some tile on a high level so that we can see whether this tile is still functioning well in high tide region area. This is more clearer. On top of the requirement of the World Harbour project, we also deploy the tile in a higher tidal mark region. So we now undergoing the regular survey. We will finish the project by November this year. We will collect the entire tile back and then do the counting and also the species identification. Then first task is to study the attached oyster survivalship and their growth rate. For example, now we saw quite a few being predated by the whelk. This is a predatory whelk. You can see the hole. They can drill the hole and suck in the mouth part and secrete the digestive enzyme and then eat the flesh afterward. And then we will run the biodiversity survey, looking at the species and abundance. Right now, we only use a photo project, means we take the photo samples, then we analyze the data using image analysis. But in the end of the project, we will collect the whole tile back for more details analysis. And third part, we will take the thermal imaging. So I really thankful to the World Harbour project so that I was able to meet lots of experts in eco-solar engineering. Then now we convince our government we should do some trial because Hong Kong we're going to have more reclamation projects, and also the current seawall could be enhanced by the eco-solar features. So now we have a trial site in a South China region area. Since this project is commissioned by the government, so I try to keep it low key. But I just share some picture with you now. So this is one of the reclamation sites in China, and then we just start the construction In this site, we're going to do mango plantation for the eco-solar engineering. So we're going to compare this, the pilot site. We will turn this into a mango plantation site. This is situated at a estuary system. So, and then the flowway is low, and then with lots of suspended solid in the area. So the adjacent area also with mangoes. We see this is a good area for mango plantation. This is the control site. Currently, they're just using the rock to protect the shore. This is a nearby reference site with mango trees nearby. Then it may take another 3 months for the building. After that, we will start running the ecological monitoring for 1 year. So this is our schematic design for this eco-solar engineering project. We will plant some backshore vegetation to connect the land ecosystem to the marine ecosystem. Then we have mango plantation, the bio block, and also we'll have the oyster basket. The oyster will function to clean up the water and also could be used for consumption. In the more exposed shore area, we're going to use the Sydney design using the bio block system. And then the bio block system will host and crevices for organisms to live inside. And then they can also trap water during the low tide. Then we also incorporate the oyster baskets. This one is the existing design. Then we will try this bio block in the site as well. Last November, we organized the first workshop on eco-solar design for sustainable coastal development. Then as you can see here, Gray William, you can see Peter Todd from NUS, and I can't see Sumaret somewhere here, and also an American scientist. Several of them came to provide us some really useful idea how to help Hong Kong to improve our seawall system with the ecological engineering design. We planning to have the next meeting next year. In this forthcoming meeting, we target to develop a manuscript, provide the guidance on how to evaluate the success of eco-solar engineering, how to benchmark the outcomes. If we build an eco-solar engineering, how the government say this is good or not good, then we will provide a synthetic meta-analysis plus our experts input to put together a very good paper. Then maybe we can target to say apply ecology or similar journals to publish, so that people can use this as a Bible when they do this kind of engineering work. Then they know whether they are on the right track. So last year we also organized this second conference for developing environmental quality benchmarks for chemical pollutants or dissolved option and so forth. And then we have over 100 expertise to join us. Then we're going to produce a proceeding in this year in a journal called Environmental Science and Pollution Research. Then the next one going to be organized in Nanjing in 2019. So all of you are welcome to join us. And then last year in June, I also chair and organized this the 8th International Conference on Marine Pollution and Ecotoxicology. We organize this conference series once every 3 years. So the next one also will be held in 2019 in our university. So you are all welcome to join us. So Thank you, Peter, Sydney Institute of Marine Science for invitation, and also thanks for the World Harbour Project to include Hong Kong as a member. And I thank all my postdoc and my colleagues, Helen Leung, for helping our work, especially the Eco Shoreline project. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Kenny. So I think we'll just go right to Jean as the next speaker, and then open it up for questions after Jean. Here you go.
We can see your screen, but we can't hear you. Have you got your microphone turned on?
He's unmuted, and he's been selected as the presenter.
I'll just try changing you again.
Still cannot hear him.
No. Have you got your microphone muted or your sound turned down?
Jean, can you hear us? Okay.
Oh, entire audience. Oops. Are you unmuted? Not unmuted. We could hear you earlier. Maybe you could go through the slides at least.
No, well, let's just, sorry, bear with us for a moment, folks, while we try and figure out what the issue is. Audio. What's the audio up there?
Yeah, this is our audio.
What that one is? We're now muted. He's unmuted.
It would be this on his.
Yeah.
Let's try changing presenter again.
Actually, so can we hear him now, or does he have to be the presenter?
No, we still can't hear you. He's talking.
Huh? Say something, Jean? No, it's not coming up.
You have your slides, but no sound.
It's getting late, so are we on? Or can people hear us? Yeah. So unfortunately, Jean, we can't figure out why we can't hear you. So I think probably the best thing to do as the session is drawing on a little bit, I think we're going to have to defer you to another session, and we can figure out whatever the problem is. So, because I don't think that it makes sense just to show your slides without your voiceover. I don't know that we would understand. So very sorry about this. Really not sure what the issue is. But we'll be in touch about when we can reschedule you. I think for the next one would make sense. So, okay, you all right with that? Give me a thumbs up if you've understood all that. Great, okay. Again, our apologies. But I think at this point we should probably, yeah, exactly. We should, nice title slide. We should probably open it up for questions from the attendees. There is a question pending. I think that's from Stuart Pearson. So Stuart, you want to go? You have to read it. I have to read the question? Okay. Yeah. So let's see. So we can't get Stuart to, right. So Stuart offers a warm welcome to Xiamen on joining the World Harbor Project, and thanks Yun Wei for his presentation. So he says that Chen Leung has spoken about the changes in the action plan in Xiamen in 2016-17, and he wonders how that's going. He was also interested to hear more about the integrated coastal zone management in Xiamen.
Oh, yeah, this is very not in my field, but it's Professor Hong Huasheng and Professor Xue Xiongzhi. They have some like this really good since 1994, I think. Since 1994, they introduced this action. It's yeah, it's very good. They used to design to protect the marine species, the white dolphin, and also the fish. Now it looks like a pretty success. Actually, maybe when you come here, so I can invite Professor Hong, maybe give us some more information about this one. Yeah. So actually, I'm not a good. I'm not a good. You know, I cannot give you more answer for this time. No. Sorry for that.
No worries. Fair enough. So I had a question. I guess for all of you, although of course we can't hear Jean. And that is, so I made the bold statement earlier that there seems to be this increase in environmental consciousness and awareness in Asia, which is leading to some of the work and some of the activities that both of you spoke to. But do you think that's true? Do you think that, in fact, that there is a much greater focus on the sustainability of the environment, particularly the marine environment now in Asia? I asked that of both Kenny and Yun Wei.
Yeah, I think the government should be very interested to do this, the coastal sustainability. So maybe Hong Kong, they have some like more idea about this. Kenny?
As I mentioned before, the government actually is really up to sustainable development. In the last policy address, last year policy address, they say for any new reclamation project, they must come with eco-shoreline design to enhance the ecosystem function, not just for the sea defense, but also for people to enjoy the waterfront, for education, as well as for environmental protection. This is one very good example about the response to the increased environmental awareness across the board in Hong Kong. We also see there is a huge demand on ecotourism and also environmental education in Hong Kong. For example, now the school really want us to build more citizen scientist platforms for school kids and also even for higher education sectors like university. Now we have to incorporate this element into our scientific study now. So then we try to involve more stakeholders, disseminate our result by involving people to join the ecological or the biodiversity survey. So this is a really, really good change. But on the contrary, when I look at what's happening in Australia, I think Australia model is even more advanced. You can also mobilize people for fundraising, like the Craig Wheat project, really successful. I think we try to follow the good examples from Australia and also the members in Sydney Institute of Marine Science.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So one thing, in China, in last November, the central government just have some new regulation to control the land reclamation. It's to like the ecological right land. You cannot to do the land reclamation in that area. So it's really good. And also they have put quite a lot of money. So totally for just in Xiamen, it's 400 million for next three years. They do the for the blue sea, like the blue ocean project, to try to focus on the sustainable development in the coastal region. So only in Xiamen, in this the small city, is 300 million for this project. I think it's quite big money. It's a good opportunity to work on to the sustainable development. Yeah.
And so why do you think the change has happened?
You mean the policy or the regulation?
Yeah,
the government.
Sorry, the increased focus on sustainability. I mean,
yeah, because we have quite a big problem recently. So actually, recently we have a lot like the harmful algae bloom, and also we have the green algae bloom, and also the jellyfish bloom. We have the too many problems. So recently the government think maybe it's the time, and also have money. Recently they have some money. They return the money from to get some return the tax to do some research and ecological restoration. So I think maybe it's the problem. Too many problems. So that's the government want to do some like to make the habit to change the. So now in Xiamen, so almost no reclamation is banned. So now almost now recently. So I think just too many problems. So it drive the change of the attitude of the government. Yeah.
Well, that's a positive thing. So I'm looking at the board here for any other questions. So any other questions from the other attendees? Okay. Well, we have gone over our hour here. So again, my apologies to Jean for whatever the technical glitch was that prevented him from joining us. It would have been interesting to hear, perspective from another area on the Asian coast. But I want to thank Kenny and Yun Wei for their presentations, and for hearing about all the work that's going on in both places. We look forward to seeing everybody in Xiamen, and thanks again to Yun Wei for agreeing to host. And the next webinar is in June, and will be on education and contaminants. So we look forward to everybody joining us on that one. But until then, you'll be hearing from me about the partner meeting in Xiamen. But otherwise, until then, thanks, and in Australia at least, good evening, and good whatever in other parts of the world. Talk to everybody soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.